You do not need to be fluent to journal in Japanese. Recently, I started writing in my traveler's notebook, and it quickly became one of the most exciting ways for me to improve my Japanese. You might be thinking it takes too long to write in Japanese, or you will never be able to journal in a different language. That's not true. In this video, I will show you exactly how you can start journaling in a different language too. If you've just started learning Japanese, you're in the right place. I actually recommend starting digitally first. Let me explain why. When you write in Japanese, it's very common to remember how a word sounds but forget how it's written. You might also find yourself only remembering hiragana and katakana, while kanji slips your mind. That's why typing first on your laptop can really help. It takes away the pressure of remembering every character and lets you focus on expressing your ideas more freely. For what to write about, since this is a journal, I usually talk about my daily life, things that happen at work, conversations with friends, or anything small that stood out during the day. Try to be as specific as possible because the more detail you include, the more vocabulary and sentence patterns you will naturally use. And of course, don't hesitate to look up words when you need them. If you're stuck, a great place to start is your daily routine or hobbies. The next step is to run your writing through AI and ask it to correct it. I also like to compare my original version with the corrected one so I can clearly see what I got wrong and understand why. Sometimes my writing doesn't sound natural or casual, and seeing the improved version helps me build a better sense of how Japanese is actually used in real life. If you're a visual learner, you can even highlight the differences to make them easier to remember. Lastly, I copy everything into my physical journal, not because I want it to look perfect, but because the act of writing it down helps strengthen my memory. As I write, I'm also reading it in my head, which reinforces both meaning and structure. Over time, this helps me remember how to write kanji and creates muscle memory for writing more naturally in Japanese. As you start to feel more comfortable, you can skip the first step and go straight into writing in Japanese in your journal. Something else I like to experiment with is decorating my journal and turn it into a more creative experience. I'm definitely not an expert at it, and you don't have to be either. You can develop your own style and just have fun with it. For me, this makes journaling something I actually look forward to. My end goal is to journal in Japanese the same way I do in my native language. For example, when I travel, I want to be able to collect tickets, stamps, and write little notes or reflections about those experiences in Japanese. For the advanced level, I like to challenge myself by intentionally using new words and expressions that I've learned recently. Before I start writing, I'll often think about the topic I want to journal about and look for vocabulary related to it. For example, this week I wrote about traveling in Peru, so I wanted to use more advanced adjectives to describe its culture and history. It's also a great opportunity to review words you may have forgotten, like how to say ride a camel in Japanese. One thing I like to do is to tell ChatGPT what topic I'm planning to write about and ask it to generate vocabulary and expressions for inspiration. If you don't know most of the words, great, that means you're learning something new. Try your best to incorporate them into your writing. If you already know many of them, choose the ones that feel less familiar so you can practice and reinforce them. I then write these words at the top of my journal page and use them as a word bank while I write. As I journal, I try to incorporate them as naturally as possible. At this stage, I also recommend doing some free writing. Don't worry too much about making mistakes or writing perfect Japanese. Try to write continuously in one sitting and focus on expressing your thoughts. Some sentences may sound awkward and some ideas may not come out exactly the way you want, and that's completely okay. We can fix them later. Once I'm finished, I type what I've written into ChatGPT and ask it to check for mistakes and suggest more natural phrasing. I pay close attention to the corrected version and try to understand why certain changes were made. I also like to read the corrected version out loud. This helps me get a better feel for the rhythm and flow of the language so I can naturally replicate that style in the future. The key is simply to write as much as you can and actively use the vocabulary, grammar patterns, and expressions you've learned from textbooks, TV shows, podcasts, or any other material you use. The more you use the language, the more naturally it will come to you. On this channel, I love sharing different ways to make language learning more effective and enjoyable. I hope this video has inspired you to start writing and using your target language, no matter your current level. Have fun learning, and I will see you in the next video.